And good morning and good day to people that are in other time zones over in Europe, other parts of the world. I'm Steve Farrell. I'm a co-founder of Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado. And as you can see, I've got not one, not two, but three fabulous guests with me here today. I'm going to introduce them in just a moment, but let me first just say hello and thank you for being with me, Diane, Deborah, and Kurt. Really looking forward to our hour together here today.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, and and this is live. Yeah, so coming to you live, of course, means that we get to take comments and questions from you all. I'm going to wave because there are people in the studio. Some of you are on camera. Thank you all. Some of you for being on camera. You know, it's fun. We're not just in a Zoom session, virtual. We're talking to live people that we can see. So we appreciate it. Hey, thank you all for being in the studio with us. You all, of course, are Humanities Stream Plus members, and great to have you with us. Okay, I want to shout out now to a lot of the people that are watching this program. We've got a bunch of partnerships actually here reflected in the four of us. So the Evolutionary Leaders, so Evolutionary Leaders Circle, Source of Synergy Foundation, Light on Light Press, Sign Network, and that's sign.network, John Raymer. So shout out to you and all of the good folks that are part of the Sign Network. I mentioned Humanities Stream Plus. You guys are right here in the studio with us. Humanities Team. So out on social media, Facebook, YouTube. You know, shout out to all of you. So good to be with you. We're coming to you live again here today. And we've got just a really fantastic program in store. We're going to talk about so many things, but kind of the overarching theme is just our partnership, which is huge, it's long-lasting. We'll go back to even 2010 and some things we did together. And it's expanding. There's things we're announcing even today that we're going to show you, which are really very exciting. And our partnership is really all about this whole elevating of consciousness, lifting of consciousness, creating, growing into this world that is becoming more and more conscious of what? Of our of the spiritual universe, you know, of this universal consciousness that's animating all of life, that science is affirming. So we'll talk about that here during the program. So let me, at this point, just give a proper introduction to Kurt, Deborah, and Diane. So I'm going to introduce them real quick, and then we're going to go right into our conversation. And again, we've got just a lot of exciting things we want to talk to you about here today, discuss with you, and want to get your comments and questions again, too. Okay, so Dr. Kurt Johnson is an author and activist who has worked in professional science and comparative religion for over 40 years, a co-editor of the Evolutionary Leaders Gold Nautilus award-winning book, Our Moment of Choice. He is also the coordinator of the Evolutionary Leaders Synergy Circles, whose diverse activities are shared through a new video hub on Humanities Stream Plus. Kurt centers on assisting inter-community relations between the Evolutionary Leaders, the Hollow Movement, Humanities Team, and other diverse communities and impact networks. And Kurt, it's good to have you with us again. Thanks for being here. Okay, and then Reverend Deborah Moldow is an ordained interfaith minister committed to assisting in the transformation of human consciousness into a culture of peace. She is the director of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle of the Source of Synergy Foundation, founder of the Garden of Light, and served for more than 20 years as the representative to the United Nations for May Peace Prevail on Earth International. And Deborah, once again, good to have you with us. And then Diane Williams is the founder and president of the Source of Synergy Foundation. She was the co-initiator with Deepak Chopra of one of its main projects, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, which aims to inspire, support, and serve conscious evolution. Diane is a recipient of the Spirit of the United Nations, the Golden Rule, the PMAC Peace Awards, and was acknowledged by the Emily Fund for a Better World as one of the heroes for a better world. So Diane, thank you for being here with us today. All right, and so I've got some pretty distinguished guests here with me, don't I? And I'm part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, I should share it too. So we're kind of family here talking to you today. All right, so as we begin, the thing that we want to begin talking about is this video hub. So many of you, in fact, all of you in the studio here that are on camera, we can see you, are part of Humanity Stream Plus now, right? And this is this growing community, well over 3,000 and growing, of people all over the world. We're now translating these new programs in 75 languages. And the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, what we're announcing here today, is they've created a video hub on the Humanity Stream Plus, this conscious streaming platform, with 19 video programs that are currently in the video hub, more coming. So there's actually more related to that, but let's start with that. And Kurt Johnson was the curator of this video hub, and boy, it was a lot of work, because we've had a team working with Kurt, and there's been a whole lot of back and forth curating this video hub, creating these videos, naming them, getting everything just right. So Kurt, do you want to tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And thanks for having me here. And it's great to be here with Deborah and Diane, who are my cohorts in the Evolutionary Leaders Source of Synergy Foundation. So, yeah, I mean, the big overall goal here is this parallel between the message and vision that's held in common by Humanity's team and the Evolutionary Leaders and the emerging Holo movement and all the other impact networks that we're a part of. And so actually the idea of the video hub was to set out the visions that are in common, particularly across the 24 synergy circles of the Evolutionary Leaders, and where they're engaged in activism and really portray those messages and those activities. And so we not only then were involving the Evolutionary Leaders synergy circles, but Light on Light had actually stepped up to prepare the videos for the hub. And that's a big parallel, because Light on Light is the publisher of Steve Farrell's book, A New Universal Dream, My Journey from Silicon Valley to a Life in Service to Humanity, which is about the same message. So all of this is in sync. So what I did before I got on, just so that the listeners can get a sense of the breadth of the content, I took the 24 synergy circles and really just condensed them down into 12 thematic areas. And those 12 thematic areas give you an idea of the topics that are addressed in the videos at the Video Hub, and parallel, of course, the whole message of Humanity's team, the Evolutionary Leaders, source of synergy. So I'm just going to share what those are. So the content includes the arts, indigenous wisdom and sacred sites, conscious business, which Steve has been a big part of as the co-founder of our Conscious Business Synergy Circle, foundational values and principles, unity consciousness, environment and ecology, education, economics, media, science and spirituality, which Steve was just talking about and Humanity team does so much about, justice, governance, and then spiritual practice. So that's a dozen thematic areas that are portrayed across the videos that are there now and the videos that will be coming in the future. And of particular interest, just to close out on that, are the series that are a part of this. There's a series that is hosted by Rian Eisler, who is one of the great iconic authors in the world on the foundational questions of our time. There's also a series on living in wholeness, which is curated by Dr. Robert Atkinson, who's one of the other co-editors of the Evolutionary Leaders book, Our Moment of Choice. And then there's another series, which is so close to what Humanity's team does as well, which is the spiritual lives of scientists. And that's curated by Dr. Paul Mills, who's the director of research at the Chopra Foundation. So this is the breadth of things that are there, and we're sure you're going to really have a good time browsing and choosing, not only in the 19 videos that are there, but the others that are coming down the pike now that the hub is up. So what I'll do now, I'll come back to the synergy circles later, because I know that Steve's going to want to talk to Diane and Deborah about the whole vision of the Source of Synergy Foundation, the ELs, all this amazing history that got us to what we're talking about today. So thanks, and I hope that was a helpful introduction.
That was very helpful. Thank you, Kurt. And again, this is a curated collection. So this is not just a random bunch of interviews that were thrown up on stream. And actually, if you're stream members, we actually have an intake process. So it's pretty rigorous. We make sure that content is really a best practice, well curated, well recorded, and this material is that and more. And Kurt mentioned, some of what is in here. I was part of that discussion with. She's in Carmel. You mentioned her name.
Yeah, Rianne Eisler, Dr. Rianne Eisler.
Yeah, Dr. Rianne Eisler. Wow, what a gift to humanity that woman is. And she has a number of interviews in there. So if you're a Humanity Stream Plus member, and again, there are a whole bunch of you here in the studio with us, so you all don't want to miss this collection. So it's a whole Video Hub collection. I know we've got the link to the Video Hub collection. We're putting it in the window now. We've got my partners and colleagues are putting these in the window here for if you're on Zoom, or also if you're out on Facebook and YouTube. I think we're going to put those links so people can just click on them and go read about these collections. And it's an expanding content that's coming in. Again, these synergy circles, Kurt was just telling us, are now thematically going in the direction of, I think, 12 of these critical areas. And there's a lot happening in these circles. As Kurt mentioned, I was involved in creating the conscious business synergy circle, which is crucial. Business needs to come into this. It's the most powerful institution on the planet. So you could use the metaphor of it's the locomotive that's pulling the train here on the planet. It's business now. So, boy, if we're going to create a conscious future, got to bring business into it. And there's a fantastic group now that is leading and running that conscious business synergy circle. So, Diane and Deborah, are there things that you'd like to go ahead and bring in at this point? And you're both being totally polite, or wait a second, or maybe we've got, do we have...
Okay, I was muted. No, I'd love to hear Diane tell us a little bit about the vision for the Source of Synergy Foundation, which is so aligned with everything that you've been saying, and which has birthed this activity that Kurt's been talking about. And that was also her work that she was doing at the United Nations, where we all met, by the way.
Right.
So maybe, Diane, you can start us off, and then I can say a little bit about the Evolutionary Leaders Circle.
Okay, so it looks like we may have an audio issue on Diane's. So, okay, we're gonna look at that. I'll just say Jim Gray, who's leading this on the tech side, here we go, is very brave. It's not easy to bring 4 people in live from all over the planet. So, okay, I think Diane.
Sorry, Steve, I was muted, but no, I'm not.
Okay.
Well, just thank you, Kurt, because I know Kurt has really been the engine behind this Video Hub and making it happen. So we are just so delighted that it's on Humanity Stream Plus. And thank you, Steve, for inviting us to be part of this program today. And also much gratitude to Jim and Abby, Dee, Garth, and everybody at Humanity's team for making this new hub possible. We're just really excited. So just our organization, the Source of Synergy Foundation. I just wanted to share a little bit about how it's so aligned with Humanity's team. And as Steve said before we got on the call, Humanity's team is all 8 billion of us, all of humanity. But in our vision statement, we state that our foundation recognizes that our essence is source, a single universal field out of which everything emerges, where we're united as one. And from this place, we create opportunities for synergy. So Humanity's team and the Source of Synergy Foundation are so aligned because Humanity's team does an amazing job at helping us recognize our oneness through all of their activities, such as Global Oneness Day and Humanity Stream Plus, which really gives us the tools and the inspiration and the community and the action steps we can take to fully embody conscious living. And oneness embodies synergy, where the whole, our oneness, is greater than the sum of its parts. So acting together synergistically for the benefit of the whole is what will lead us to conscious living. And we only have to look at all the disturbances right now on the planet and see the effects of the human collective in particular, not operating as one. So both our organizations are striving to address this by supporting humanity in living a synergistic state of oneness for the benefit of the whole. And I don't know, Deborah, did you want to talk a little bit about the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, or did you want me to share about that?
Well, whenever you're ready for me to speak about the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, I'm happy to jump in.
Okay, so why don't you jump in with that, and then I can just share a little bit more about that.
Okay. So those of you who might be wondering what that means, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, what is an evolutionary leader? I'm delighted to show you 3 examples of evolutionary leaders that are on this call today. So in general, an evolutionary leader is anybody who is helping to bring humanity to our next level of consciousness. We are following the theory of Barbara Marx Hubbard that humanity is the first species that is capable of consciously directing its own evolution. And we've seen the evolution of consciousness. You know, once I started to think about what that meant, I thought about back through history where there was so much brutality in the human race, which makes me think that the consciousness was at a different place than it is now. We no longer have public entertainment that is, you know, going to a hanging or a witch burning or the Colosseum to see animals tear people apart. And we're at a different stage in our evolution now. And even in the beginning of the last century, we saw people proudly marching off to war. And now the war is not over on our planets, and I pray on our planet, and I pray that it will be very soon. But at least it's considered a last resort. And so we're in a different mindset. And we're seeing, for instance, now the cutting edge of the evolution is in places like science, where quantum physics is making a bridge to the spiritual wisdom that's been around for ages, right? And we have in our Evolutionary Leaders Circle, we have a number of those brave scientists who are saying science and spirituality are not separate. And of course, that includes Dr. Paul Mills, whom Kurt mentioned, and Deepak Chopra and Jude Currivan and others. But the examples that I wanted to show you, let's start with Steve Farrell. So Steve Farrell, if you've read his book, The New Universal Dream, then you know his background, that he was on track as a successful businessman. And he that stress also entailed, that success entailed a lot of stress, right? And that made him think that maybe there was something else. And again, it's that spiritual impulse that he followed from his own heart. But then he founded, with Neil Donald Walsh, who's another member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, he founded Humanity's Team, but he ran it like a business. He put all of that drive that he had as a CEO into his mission on this planet. But just having the platform of Humanity's Team wasn't even enough. So then he developed Humanity's Stream, where you can see all of these videos in our new video hub. And he's pushing the envelope of what media is and how media can affect our consciousness so that we can achieve conscious living on this planet by 2040. So he's a wonderful example of someone who is leading the evolution. And then another one is Dr. Kurt Johnson. Oh my God, this is a true Renaissance man. So when we met Kurt at the United Nations, he was already very accomplished author and scientist, and he had co-written The Coming Interspiritual Age. And that's another place where that's the edge of the evolution of religion and spirituality, is this concept of interspirituality that came from Brother Wayne Teasdale. But when Kurt got involved with the evolutionary leaders, he saw these commonalities of interest, and he began to help people to start synergy circles as action areas where people with similar interests, like conscious business, where Steve was involved in the founding of that synergy circle, could get together and work together and bring forward their visions for a better world. But that wasn't enough for Kurt either. Kurt also has an interview series on Voice America Internet Radio, which has blossomed into these amazing videos that you can see on our new platform. And he is a publisher, and he now has the imprint of Light on Light Publishing, doing online magazines and book after book after book, including our own book that the Evolutionary Leaders put out called Our Moment of Choice. And then there's our beloved Diane, who started the Source of Synergy Foundation as a vision that came to her. And she had a sense of how it would go forward. But it's blossomed not only into the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, but the outgrowth from the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, the Synergy Circles, and our book and our monthly newsletter, The Edge, and our call to conscious evolution. And by the way, you can sign up to receive this monthly newsletter by going to the site at evolutionaryleaders.net. And the best way to sign up, you can just sign up for the newsletter if you want it, but you can sign on to the call to conscious evolution and tell us your vision for the future. And that will also put you on the mailing list for The Edge. And now we have our newest project, which is the Evolutionary Partners Network. We're asking the question, we're living into the question, how can aligned organizations with different objectives and different service in the world work together? How can we come together? And that's where the Evolutionary Leaders started. It started as, how can we build a field of expanding consciousness that can begin to be a spark of light that connects with other sparks of light all over the world. So if you're watching this program, you are helping to lead the evolution, and we honor you and everything that you do. However large, however small, we're all in this together. And as Diane said, synergy is the engine. Synergy is the magic that's coming together. And perhaps Diane can tell us a little bit about how the Source of Synergy Foundation has been partnering with Humanity's Team and other organizations and movements that are emerging now.
Yeah, thank you,
Diane,
Deborah. And I just wanted to say that the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is just one of so many communities that believe in the power of humanity to become conscious participants in the evolution of ourselves, our community, our worldviews, our institutions, and even the entirety of the human society. And as Deborah said, anyone that chooses to make a positive change through cooperation and co-creation by taking the lead to advance our global society is an evolutionary leader. You don't need to be a politician, a social media influencer, or some sort of commanding authority. You just have to be part of leading the evolution towards a world where the well-being of everybody is held as our highest priority. And evolutionary leaders, leadership is very different than traditional leadership, because traditional leadership, the people on top wield the power. But with evolutionary leadership, there's more of a holistic view where everyone is part of the solution, and that we evolve and grow together. And a lot of the times, this type of leadership starts with an inner journey where we ask ourselves some important questions about the role we all wish to play and contribute to societal well-being. And I think the last point I want to make about evolutionary leadership is they're really committed to their own growth and evolution in service to the larger whole. So they make personal reflection and often spiritual development a priority by continuously seeking to expand their own consciousness. So just in terms of, Deborah asked me to speak a little bit in terms of the way that we collaborate. So synergy is typically defined as a whole being stronger than the sum of its parts. And to synergize efforts means to collaborate together to be more effective and to hopefully deliver more value than any one group would have through individual efforts. And all of our efforts strive to create this strength through bringing together individuals, organizations, networks, and movements to be a greater force for transformation. So we recently, I can just give one example because I know we don't have a lot of time, but we recently came together and co-created a symposium with many partners. I know Humanities Team was also part of that, called the Sacred Mission Symposium, that was inspired by a vision of Irving Laszlo, Dr. Irving Laszlo. And it was just a wonderful experience in coming together with different organizations that all have the same mission and saying, okay, how could we really live into our individual and our collective sacred mission as humanity? And you can find that on Unity Earth TV if you want to watch that. But the Source of Synergy Foundation really believes that synergy is a state of highly creative, supercharged potential, which could be activated and applied by anyone, anywhere. So when you come together with a few friends and take an action together, like cleaning up your local beach, you're activating synergy. And when you source synergy for the common good, you're really upgrading humanity's capacity to evolve and solve because you have activated this supercharged potential that almost always leads to positive ripple effects in the field. So.
Beautiful. So a lot there. Let me first just share. So all of you viewers, as Deborah and Diane were talking about what it is to be an evolutionary leader, you were probably saying, that's me, right? Because that's why you're here. That's what a conscious community is, right? Is we're actually all evolutionary leaders. And that's how, when Humanities Team says we're going to make conscious living pervasive worldwide, in 16 years by 2040, well, how can we do that? Well, this is how we do it, is we're having this wonderful conversation, talking about, giving examples, talking about what it is, sharing that we even, talked a little bit about Barbara Marx Hubbard, who boy, did she coin this time well, right? Our crisis is a birth, right? A birth of what? A birth of a new humanity, of elevated consciousness, of where we're really understanding ultimate reality better, actually, aren't we? Because one of the things that we've been sharing here recently in Humanities Team, we were talking a little bit about before we came on camera, is this whole notion of separated self. It turns out that just as the mystics shared, Deborah was saying down through the ages, back to way into 500 BCE, you had Plato and Hippocrates sharing, there's one consciousness. We are all a part of one consciousness, and mystics have shared this down through the ages. It's in almost all sacred text. And now in comes science sharing, yep, there is no such thing as a separated self. We were just starting to talk about an article. We didn't get to that before we came on camera here at the top of the hour, but some of you may have seen this Popular Mechanics article, that's a mainstream, little short magazine that comes out, and Apple News picked up this article on global consciousness and ran it on Apple News for weeks. Usually it's just a couple days. And it said, oh my gosh, scientists are saying there's no such thing as a separated self, because we're actually all putting out this kinetic energy that's just like ripples in a pond, like when you throw a stone in a pond or a lake or something, it just ripples out forever and ever and ever. And scientists are saying, well, that's how life works, actually. Deborah was bringing in quantum physics. As you know, here in Humanities Team, we talk a lot about quantum physics. Quantum physics is saying this is so. Albert Einstein's thing, this unified field theory, man, this is true. That we're all actually deeply interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. So, in a sense, as a young man growing up, where I on the pillow in the morning was just thinking about the me throughout the day and tomorrow and my lifetime, the separated self, it was a fiction. There's no such thing as a separated self. It's just living in a fiction. So that's the beauty of this whole elevated consciousness, we're uplifting consciousness thing that we're talking about, is it's really just kind of putting our ladder against the wall, which science and mystics and spirituality has been sharing has been true forever and ever, that where we understand, where there's the bigger self, a cell in the superorganism, cosmos, universe, life, the world around us, right? The 8 billion people, we're just kind of moving the fence posts out from just nuclear family, me, my wife, and my kids, to, why would I stop there? Because I'm actually part of this bigger world around me, right? And so I want to go to my station in life, that whole interior world thing, our daily practice, and kind of understand what is it that I'm here to do? How can I contribute? What do I be in service to? I can't do everything, but I can do something. So, yeah, we're all evolutionary leaders here, I'll bet, right? Because I think that's why you're here, and that's what you want to contribute to. So let me just, at this point, we have 3 videos that are really pretty, they're short, and they're really pretty powerful. So why don't we play Diane's video? This is actually from a Global Oneness Summit. It was in 2020 with a very esteemed panel. Wow, you're going to see Anwar Chowdhury with Diane. I think I'm hosting it. And we have one other individual. Maybe we'll... So let's go to this panel. We're going to hear Diane speak. Then we're going to come back and talk about it. And then there's a short video clip both of Kurt and then another one of Deborah. So we'll bring those in because they bring in this whole discussion around this whole universal consciousness, the spiritual universe of which we are a part. So let's go to this first one and we'll come back and talk about it. Then we'll go to the other 2. Here we go.
So I first learned about Global Oneness Day in early 2010 when Humanity's Team was seeking a partner that was affiliated with the United Nations and shared similar values with them to help organize the launch of Global Oneness Day at the UN. And as soon as our NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns at the UN in New York was presented with this partnership opportunity, we knew right away it was something we wanted to do, as its mission was so aligned with our committee's mission. The vision of a day to recognize, celebrate, and embody our oneness held then and still holds now a special energy and quality of being that one feels when you know that it's something that must materialize for the benefit of the whole. And we had no doubt that this vision and its unique mission would succeed in creating waves of oneness. And on a personal level, I recall when I first heard that there was a group called Humanity's Team that wanted to create a UN-sanctioned Worldwide Oneness Day, I felt an immediate resonance with this vision and also a great resonance with the name Humanity's Team because it was so inclusive. So from the very start, I felt like a member of the team because I'm part of humanity. And just quickly, early in the planning process for the launch, Humanity's Team asked our committee 2 important questions. First was who would be the best person to receive the oneness petition? And second was where should we hold the ceremony? And we wholeheartedly suggested Ambassador Chaudhry be the recipient of the oneness petition and all the signatures because he's always been a true champion of special causes, such as advancing the cause of the global movement for a culture of peace that has inspired and energized people all over the world to embody both inner and outer peace and realize oneness. So he was the perfect recipient. And in terms of the place, we suggested to be in front of the meditation room with the beautiful Chagall window in the background as a spot, because that area has been charged with spiritual energy since its inception. And we knew that anything that happens on that site is blessed and infused with a sacred power that will support and ensure its success. And the second Secretary General of the UN, Dag Hammarskjöld, was really instrumental in creating this meditation room so that all that entered could go into the silence and the stillness and be at one with the infinite. And he felt that this room was the center of the United Nations, its sacred core. And there's even a mural there with interlocking geometric patterns that was created to invoke a feeling of the essential oneness of God. So having the members of Humanities Team Council bring the Global Oneness Day vision to the United Nations in front of the meditation room really felt like a coming home of the original vision by Dag Hammarskjöld and the founders of the UN to invoke this oneness.
Okay, very esteemed panel there. Anna Marie Petiers was the other person on that panel. So Ambassador Anwar Chowdhury, he's an esteemed person. Diane Williams is an esteemed person. So, and they were a part of this whole beginning of the Global Oneness Summit. It was then called a Global Oneness Day. And we had gone to the United Nations there. It was May 20, 2010 that we were there in front of the Chagall window of meditation area there at the United Nations. And we were asking the United Nations to create a Global Oneness Day, and they turned it around and said, no, you create a Global Oneness Day. It'd take too long for us to create it here. And we were like, oh. So here we are, all these years later with the Global Oneness Summit. So thank you for the huge role you played there, Diane. Well,
Steve, maybe it's time to make it an official UN Day after 14 years. It's been going public, so maybe it's the perfect time. So we'll have to talk to Ambassador Chowdhury about helping us with that.
There we go. Let's do that. There's a follow-up item for sure. Yeah, I'll meet you back in New York. Would love to do that. Okay, well, let's get to here. I mentioned there are actually 3 video clips. These kind of go in different directions. The next one, Kurt Johnson, kind of goes in the direction of what is this? What does the expanded consciousness feel like? What is it? How do we feel? What emotions stir when we're in an expanded consciousness state? So this is a brief video clip. Let's go to this one, and then we'll come back. Here we go.
So what's going on is that in all of these spiritual communities around the world, this understanding that there's this non-egoic space, this space where there's no longer any personal identity, but there's just the group field and the group creative field that's being generated by that shared intention, that shared heart, actually the pull of providence and the push of our own evolutionary reaching out, for those lofty goals, the world that we'd all like to see. And when we experience that, when that manifests in a group, like Ben said, it is so different and so new as a level of consciousness that it's immediately recognized, even euphorically by people, almost like Ben was as well, that this is another level of consciousness, and it's a combined skill set level of consciousness. And actually in this other book that I'm reviewing, this person has letter after letter after letter from people who've begun to experience this, and they try to describe it. And it's all like different colors or shades of what Ben just said. And it just impresses the soul that this is another level in consciousness. It's different, it's new, and I want more of it. I actually wrote an article in Cosmos about this, I think nearly 5 years ago, when it was just starting to emerge. And I was saying things very similar to what Ben just said, is that what people are saying about this is a whole new skill set that's arising. So just to say, we ended up on this call because we were talking about something else. And then we started to realize this is happening everywhere.
Okay, just some context on that. So that was Ben Bowler, who of course, is Unity Earth that Kurt was talking about. And then I think the context for this is like within organizations. So where we've got organizations working together, and Kurt is describing beautifully, what that's like and how that's so different. And Kurt, I don't know if there's anything more you want to share there, but that was a powerful clip.
Yeah, what I'll add actually is Light on Light in 2024 is doing a new book entitled The Experience of Group Consciousness. And it's an absolute who's who of everybody in the world and organizations in the world that have had and beginning to have and nurture this experience of a skillful group consciousness. So that video is from a number of years ago, but oh my gosh, here we are now with that new experience growing and growing. It's actually why we're here. All of the parallels we're talking about among and across all these impact networks that we work with that are working in concert is because of this emerging sense of we. And boy, wouldn't that change the world? I mean, just look at the news. Wouldn't that change the world?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Okay, before we go to Deborah's video clip, I skipped over, and I shouldn't have, Diane, because you had that powerful clip, and you were there. We created the Global Oneness Summit following that meeting, and then the relationship has blossomed into all of these things. So there's so many things you could probably come in with here. Diane, let me just pass the microphone to you to things you might want to emphasize here.
Do you mean about the event itself or just anything in general?
Yeah, anything that came to you. I mean, you were kind of going back to our beginning where we met there in May 20, 2010 was the date. But there was all of this work preceding that where you were helping to set up Ambassador Chowdhury receiving us, the meditation center and so on. I don't know that you necessarily want to talk about that ceremony, though you could. That was a powerful ceremony. We had our global, we had leaders from all over the world and humanities team that had flown in for this ceremony, a very powerful ceremony. But there's so much that's happened in the 14 years since we met there. So you can comment actually on a lot of things here.
Well, I think we just did our small part in helping to make that ceremony happen with humanities team, and of course Ambassador Chowdhury. It's so aligned with who he is and his vision. I mentioned that, but it's really been all of you that's been carrying this forward every year through the Global Oneness Summit. And when I said earlier, I really think that maybe it is time to think about going back to the UN and saying, look at all these amazing, incredible programs and people involved. And there's definitely this longing for to feel this natural state of being, our inherent state of wholeness together as a field, that it's time to make Global Oneness Day an official day at the United Nations. And so I think we should seriously consider making that happen, and then it will spread out even more to so many different parts of the globe, which I know it already is. But I think being a day it gets on the UN calendar, and there's so many other days that is honored at the United Nations. So why not Global Oneness Day? So let's seriously think about making that happen.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'm going to follow up with you on this, Diane. And of course, one of the things Ambassador Chowdhury referenced on May 20 upon receiving the declaration with the signatures, 20,000 plus, was exactly this. He said, come back years later after this thing is really seeded out in the world. It's not that the UN can't, it's just that it's important. He said nothing really is going to happen of consequence until we elevate consciousness, we understand our oneness, our unity. So get it started and then come back and let's have the UN recognize it. So yes, I'll follow up with you and we'll have fun with that project. Okay, we're gonna come over to Deborah, and I'll just say, Deborah was generous there, talking about 3 evolutionary leaders and me and Kurt and Diane, and Deborah is a huge evolutionary leader. So she's the one. She's kind of the founder, and chairman, if you will, is Diane, and the CEO that's in there every day with people all over the world. Those would be my words. Is Deborah. So that's in there with all the synergy circles and evolutionary leaders. It's grown into this huge organization worldwide, and there's a lot going on. And from San Miguel, there, Mexico, Deborah manages all of this. So let's go see this little quote here from Deborah, and then we'll come back and talk about that one. Here we go.
We are part of something larger than ourselves. This is a most extraordinary moment right now, right here on planet Earth. The situation looks dire. You just heard very sobering words from Jim Garrison about the changing climate and about the militarism that continues to grip our world that Alice spoke about. And yet there is hope in the global call to movement that Jim mentioned as the only way forward. We are all part of a vast, unprecedented up-leveling of human consciousness. As Reverend Sylvia said, we're birthing something totally new. All of our panelists are part of it, and everyone listening is part of it too. And all of the ingredients are in place for this to happen.
Okay, yes, they are. All the ingredients are in place for this to happen. And she was referencing some other really key leaders there in that short clip. So, Deborah, are there things you'd like to just bring in to sort of underscore that have to do with that powerful statement, by the way? That was a really neat clip.
Wow, I was on fire.
You were. Yeah.
I do think that all the pieces are in place for this emergence of a new level of global consciousness or conscious living by 2040. And the first tool that makes this possible is the internet. Look at how we can be together today from different countries and different parts of the world. And yet we're not only in the same Zoom room, but we're also feeling the same energy moving through us. You know what I mean? I get excited talking about the new consciousness because on the one hand, we can all see how desperately we need it. We cannot confront the challenges that are facing us today as Einstein said, at the level of consciousness that created them. We have to bring in the new. And the new, as Diane was saying, is doing it together, is harnessing the synergy of people, not only of people of similar backgrounds who have always worked together, but bringing in all different perspectives from around the world, from our religious and faith traditions, and particularly from indigenous traditions, which were always cast aside by the modern world. And now we understand. We have a new level of understanding that we need to learn to live as part of nature and to find a whole new way of being on the planet. And that's why it's so important that everybody who's on this wavelength do their part, whatever that looks like, whether it's in your family, it's at your workplace, it's what you do in your spare time, in your community. All of this contributes because we are truly building a culture of peace together. And that's the only way we can do it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, boy, there's so much we could talk about here, but let me just share, just kind of come back to the overarching theme here, which is, there is no separated self. I'll maybe just share a little, then we're going to kind of go around the call here, but this is what scientists are saying, okay? I'm just grabbing what the scientists are saying, like this Popular Mechanics article, or kinetic energy that we're all putting out, as waves under the pond. The pond is the universe, it's the world, it's the cosmos. That there is no such thing as a separated self. We've been living in a fiction. And so this elevated consciousness is really its ultimate reality. It's how the universe really works. This is what the scientists are sharing. And now the beautiful thing is that even if the world wasn't massively challenged, and it is, but even if it wasn't, this is such a delicious way to live. There are these quotes from 2,500 years ago, from 2,000 years ago. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Look at the lilies, and don't they have what Solomon did not, right? And then there are all of these beautiful quotes from the Buddha, right? These quotes that have been around forever and ever and ever that we're calling this conscious living, but we could call it a lot of things: oneness, unity consciousness, diversity and unity. It's all of these things. But where we live into this bigger self, this expanded consciousness and ultimate reality, right, instead of the fiction, then we live in this delicious way. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. That's really what conscious living is. And now the beautiful thing is then where we just get to 8 to 10% of us living it that way, bam, we're at tipping point where we just naturally, we're in our bigger self. So we go through our daily practice, we go to our station in life, the things that we're called to do. We're all called to something. That's that God space, right? Is that daily practice, that interior place which is foundational. Diane was talking about this, and Deborah, as when we talk about creating change out in the world, it's an inside-out job, right? It's based in our interior, in our daily practice, and then then we become transformed, and then we live deliciously, and then people notice, oh, there's something different about you. I want to live like that. I want to live consciously, and we only need to get to 8 to 10% of us, and bam, we're stewarding the earth. We could never start wars, my goodness, or do these horrible things to the earth. That's what conscious living is. Not that. It's we're in service, to the world around us. Is what we naturally do. So I'll stop there. Maybe we go to Kurt and Deborah and Diane, and then if you all want to bring in calls to action, further things. There's so many things that we could get to. An hour is kind of confining here, but just anything that you want to bring in. Kurt, let's again start with you. Go to Deborah and Diane.
Yeah, so I see we have 8 minutes, so I'll be really brief. But yeah, it's so exciting, what's unfolding here with all of this energy, and then this ability for groups to team up and work together, create something that's impactful, a video, an event, a book, a magazine, and then go back to their own work, but then show up again to work with the team. And with 24 synergy circles, that means that something's going on all the time. So people have time to team up. They also have time to step back into their own work. A lot of times I get an email that says, I'm ready for another project. And then away we go again with something. So it's really exciting. And just real quick, last thing, it's an odd coincidence, but yesterday going through pictures, found a photo of Steve Farrell at the Crestone Convergence event in 2017, where on the last day we had a dinner, all of us, about what we were committed to. And that's 7 years ago, and yet all of those things that we committed to at that dinner, we've really made them come true. And that was also the year of the Ghost Ranch Evolutionary Leaders Advance, where we did a vision quest together, and that was the beginning of our talking about working in smaller groups, teaming up, which were then called clans. So all of this is rolled out. It's exciting, and just hand the ball back to you three.
Okay, Kurt, thank you. Yeah, and Kurt was given just year before last the big distinguished award by Evolutionary Leaders. Boy, and that was very deserving. Yeah, Kurt, you're just selfless. I like to call it self-full. But we're in the sense of you just give, to the world around you. What a beautiful example for humanity. Okay, and we'll go over to Deborah.
Yes, we named Kurt the Synergy Superstar of the Year. And he definitely earned that because he has created so much synergy among people by offering these opportunities to come together, just like you did today, Steve, by inviting us here to talk about our passion for this work of leading into the new consciousness. So I was thinking people might be wondering, what do you do to move into this delicious state that you were describing, Steve? So I just want to encourage people to, first of all, meditation. I think everybody who meditates recommends it, but just getting quiet enough to still our busy minds and listen for that voice, that quiet voice within that comes through our heart and guides us. Because I know my life changed when I started following my guidance. And that's what I read about in your book, Steve. This is how anybody can live into their life's purpose and mission. And that might be just as simple as having deeper conversations with your friends and your family about what it means to be a human being here on planet Earth. And that's how we become conscious. And that's how we can have this very positive virus of infecting others with conscious living.
Yes, we can. Thank you for bringing that in. Yeah, that's because that gets the whole thing going, this whole interior thing, this daily practice. It's our soul's calling. It's that still small voice. Yeah, when boy, isn't that the most important thing? That worldly noise, people are well-meaning, but we got to tune it out, because I know even family, they said, oh, don't do that. And thank God I did do that, I mean, they're well-meaning, they love you, a lot of the people around us, but some of them aren't on this conscious journey, so they don't know, and we have to listen to our still small voice. Okay, we're going over to Diane here now.
Thank you, Kurt and Deborah. Beautiful. So I just want to say we all have to remember we're all living expressions of oneness. And I think this should be one of the first things parents or grandparents and teachers convey to children, and support them in having experiences to help them feel oneness. And children, as well as adults, need to have the opportunity to spend time in nature, in quiet stillness and reflection, so one can have the opportunity to directly connect with source or consciousness or God or oneness or whatever name we choose to call the essence of all forms. And I remember Rupert Sheldrake had an exercise that he recommends, and he said, we should sit in the same place in nature every day. So perhaps if you live close to a park bench or in your backyard. And I started doing this, and you and the insects and the animals, as well as the plants and the trees, will start to get to know you, and you'll start to experience being one ecosystem. And I just felt like just doing this for a week was so profound, because it really does help one achieve a synergistic oneness with the natural world. And our awareness of our inherent oneness with everything, including the larger cosmos, is so essential, as it holds the key to our collective survival, or at least I believe it does. So I think my call to action would be to do this. Just sit in nature and experience that larger ecosystem with all of life, and encourage your kids and your grandkids and, the children in your life to do the same. And I think if we all did that, conscious living would definitely be pervasive soon, but definitely by 2040, as your call is, Steve. Humanity's
yes, it
team's
would.
Call.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we didn't make that one up. In fact, we don't do any of the Western style, stand at the front of the room and everybody go to their brain, logics. We don't do any of that. We do just like you all. We do I got the download. By 2040. Okay, got it. We'll get on that. Is how we strategically plan. It's like we just want to be the arms and legs and lungs down here, making this world a better place. And so there's a conductor, that's that one source behind it all that drops all of these things to us that really create beautiful lives and ultimately a beautiful world, which is what we're all about. So I told you this would go fast. Here we are, gosh, it's already been an hour. So we've run out of time. So many things we could talk about, but wow, what a beautiful conversation. So just want to say thank you so much, Diane, Deborah, Kurt, and we will be following up. Also, not just United Nations, the Global Oneness Summit is around the corner, and as has been true every year, boy, we want to have you all evolutionary leaders anchoring a big part of the summit. So we'll be in touch with you about that also. And then when we opened up this session, we shared. So we're launching just right now. I mean, literally, it's happening right this week. So and we hadn't even we were going to do this program in January. And then we delayed the program Thank God we did, because these 19 video programs that are in this video hub, it's called Inspiring Videos from Evolutionary Leaders Synergy Circles, okay? That's the video hub. And again, there's many of you on stream here now, so go check this out. Just to peruse it, take a look at what's in there. Check out a few of the videos, and I think you'll probably go check out even more after you see a few more. So, and some of you out on social media maybe aren't even familiar with Humanity Stream or the Video Hub, so you can go to humanitystream.net to learn more. We actually have the first module of many of the master classes opened up for free, so you can check it out that way. I also want to share, there's a search feature in Humanity Stream. This is this conscious streaming platform we're now translating all new programs in 75 languages. And if you go into the search feature, you can enter Kurt Johnson, Deborah Moldow, Diane Williams, and look at how many programs that they're involved in. I know I checked this morning, Kurt had 40, and Deborah and Diane had a good number as well. So you can actually go to more of their programs just through the search feature. Okay, with that, I want to just thank the team here that helped make this all possible. I actually have a lot of really beautiful, smart, talented, creative, inventive partners and colleagues here with me in Humanities team. We can pull the camera back. You can see Jim Gray, who's the guy here in the studio that had the courage. There's me on the couch. That's Jim over there. Okay, so Jim had the courage to pull in 4 of us live because you can have video problems, audio problems. Not an easy thing to do. Jim, thank you. So Garth Catterall, Dee Meyer, Andy Guski, Karen Watson, there are many of them, and I'm not getting to all of them, but thank you guys for making the program possible and promoting this program all over social media. John Raymer, thank you. He creates these waves, he calls them, where he broadcasts out, across the internet to these really cool, progressive organizations. And again, you can go to sign.network to learn more about John Raymer's organization, the Sign Network. So, okay, thank you all. Love and peace and blessings to everybody. Thank you for being with us for the hour. We're going to be back Wednesday live next week. And Diane, Deborah, and Kurt, just such a pleasure being with you all for the hour. Thanks again for being here. And to viewers, thanks for being with us. Thanks for spending an hour of your day with us. We appreciate it. Okay, love, peace, and blessings, everybody. Have a great day and rest of the week. Be back with you next week.